good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening. On to all on this Sunday. Andy Nichols from Two Legs here in my usual spot on a Sunday spotlight. Ooh, almost getting ready for NFL season. Almost. Another month. Another month or so. I'll have to figure out when I'm going to do these come NFL season. So I might have to do it a little bit earlier. A little bit later than usual, but happy to be here with you all on a Sunday to catch up and talk all things Beatles and not Beatles or whatever. Whatever happens to come across your plate. Ask your question, catch up with Two Legs episodes, whatever. We did a nice recap with Kid O'Toole. And, of course, we had our Broad Street panel discussion, which got posted as well, too. And thank you all for watching that. Hi, Ma. You're tuned in. You're like a regular now. Ringo, Lynn, MVP, Heidi, good morning. Hey, James. Laura. James and Tom, good morning. I got to see that. I'm sure you guys saw on Facebook. If you know Bob Gannon, he decided to bite the bullet and go to Liverpool. I had a blast hanging out with him and Jeremy in Chicago. Pretty awesome. And Bob Gannon and I are actually, where he worked is not too far from where I grew up. So we had a lot of great conversations about some local spots, in the area, which was. I always knew this towering figure of a guy at fests. Didn't know that's who it was, and then people put two and two together, and I figured out who he was, and he was awesome. You can't miss him. You can't miss the guy. So I'm really glad we connected finally. He was a guy I kind of always knew, and I was glad I got the chance to really meet him in Chicago. And it was his first Chicago Fest in 20 years, he said. Hello, Ted. He is awesome. He's awesome, and I'm so happy he's going to Liverpool to do that. Ted says, Two Legs starting at noon and Med starting at noon today. Split screen, baby. Just do a split screen. If you have multiple devices, use that. Hi, Matt. Good morning. Laura, I was in Italy for about 10 days, and I went everywhere from Milan to Venice, Florence, Rome, Assisi, Pompeii, Sorrento, and Capri. No. Why do you think that? No, you got to check our channel out. Our shows are up there. We've been doing this for a while now. He goes live when he can, and I go live generally on Sundays. You got it, James. Henry, how you doing? No, we didn't have a falling out. It's all good. Peace in the neighborhood, as the man sings. So, thank you. Thank you, Ringo Star 20. Welcome. James says, I'm always curious with Bob Gannon and Rick Lover whether they go to any other gigs considering, I don't know, 144 times or something Bob told me he saw Paul. Crazy. Makes me look like a rookie. Like I don't even belong in the conversation. Tom's writing a song called Too Many Podcasts. Yeah, but there's, maybe so, but we know what the good ones are. David, hello, David. Yes, I have received a copy of that book, and I just started thumbing through it over the last week or so at the fest, and since I got home, by Ian Derbyshire, Macca and the Long Naughties. Interesting book because it really just focuses on Paul's career and life, personal life, post Linda's death. There's a little bit of a nice summation of the early Wings period, but then it really, really is very detailed about Paul's life from Linda's passing on. I thought it was just going to be about the music, kind of like a John Blaney book, but it's very good. A lot of details about the divorce with Heather. A nice timeline, quick, concise read, and we will definitely have him on. So 1998 through 2009. Good book. Good book. Pass. I'm not going to get that. I mean, I got the Cube, which, I don't know if you can see, the lighting's not great, but the Cube now has a nice spot in my record cabinet. I made a room for the Cube in a cube in my custom shelf there. So there she sits, nice and perfect. Although I do have the vinyl set of it out right now. Ted, I'm going to 2 screenings, actually. I'm going to go see it opening night near me here in New Jersey, and then I'm going to go meet up with Kyle Hand and see a friend of the show and go see a screening of it on the Sunday following. So really looking forward to that. No, I did not. I saw that he did, but I have not watched it yet. He messaged me that he was going to be doing that. But was it good? I saw some clips. Yeah. Hello, Koopa from Sweden. Funny. Funny. I was, Henry. I was it was my 3rd fest, and it was Tom's first. Okay, very good. Yeah, the only person that we've had relatively, related to Paul's, any, inclination of Paul's touring band is, we way back in the day we had Gabe Dixon, and we'd like to try to get some other people on there. Wicks, I want to try to get some people from the '90s band, but they're a little bit tight-lipped. I will check. I'll check it out tonight or this week coming up. It's on Ken Michaels' YouTube channel. I'm assuming James and Tom, probably. You've got tickets to One Hand Clapping on the 28th. Lynn, I have not watched any of it. Okay, good. Not yet, but it's, obviously that last date was added to Costa Rica. So all those South American countries are getting their Maca fill. Oh, Talk More Talk. Okay. All right. Oh, easy to find it either way. Yeah, not yet. Although there was some nice, I think we had some late night discussions at the fest in Chicago, and some of the hardcore concert goers, shall we say, feel that he's definitely coming back in 25 to America. I remain a little bit skeptical on that score, but we shall see. But the diehards seem to think that he is. David says, looking forward to seeing One Hand Clapping in the cinemas at the Harrogate, Yorkshire, and Frida Kelly. Well, Frida was great at the Chicago Fest. There was a great panel on the Sunday, which I talked about. It was Voices from Liverpool. It was really Frida, Billy, and Julie Evans, Julie Rossow, and that was a great panel. Frida, she's one of the very few living people that had so much inner working knowledge of working with all 4 Beatles and Brian. Do I think the theater release will be better or different than YouTube versions? I think it will be. I don't know how much better it will be, according to Sinclair and Cozen. The sound we know was going to be a home run, but I don't know how much upgraded it'll be. Hey, Beatly Tone. Good to see you on here, mate, and I hope you're doing really well. I hope you're home. Yeah, and because I've spoken to Mrs. Tone on email, and I hope you're doing well and resting, and you've been able to watch some videos to take your mind off things and get well. Thinking of you a lot. Let's try it. Let's try it, partner. Hello, Thomas Hunyadi. Yeah, we'll talk to Mr. Michaels and see how he did it. Why, Tom? Because it'll have been 3 years since he has played a full set here in America, closing out with that show at MetLife that we were at in June of 2022. It's a long time. I just don't want to get my hopes up, which is why I'm going to Manchester. Oh, you just got home a couple hours ago. Bravo. Well, I'll be in touch. More to follow. I'll send you a message. But I'm so glad that you got home and you're doing well and you're on here, and that's awesome. Yeah. Hello, Russ. Good morning. No word. No word of a new album. Just rumors and gossip. Yep. Old rumors. Yeah, well, this summer is quickly coming and going, so I don't think so. Although, if you all did notice on the Beatles' social media pages, they've got some 1964 tour thing teaser going out there. So stay tuned to that. That's going to be quite interesting. I may or may not know something about that, so you'll have to just wait and see. That'll be pretty exciting. That'll be pretty exciting. They're just teasing it out there, right? So here we are entering the fourth quarter. Sure. It was. I saw it at that Blue Village Vinyl, and I said, "Wow, this is pretty weird." And knowing how skimpy the merchandise dealer room is at the fest, that ended up being the score of the weekend. Although I must say, and I had a couple other things that I did get at the fest that I didn't show on the live recap show. I got a signed copy of Lawrence Juber's "A Day in My Life," his new album, vinyl version of all acoustic Beatles solo songs, which is great, and a few other just short things. But I got a nice poster from Piers Hemmingson as well. But yeah, that was just a peculiar thing. I mean, I've been into bootleg since I was a kid. Never saw that in a book. Never saw it anywhere. Played it through once. Sounded just like the real record. Didn't sound like it was any kind of early version. It actually would have been interesting if it was that way. If it was kind of a leaked version of different songs, but it wasn't. Yeah. Yeah, Tony, I don't know if you had a chance to log on yet and go and got tickets yet, but hopefully you can do that and find one near you. Yeah. Maybe I think the end of the quarter. I do. I think the end of the year. He's watching Man City versus Chelsea. Okay, Russ. Ollie, do you really think? No, yeah. No, we just talked about that. Ralph says Paul will tour the States if he has a new album in 2025, I believe. Well, that would make sense, and would squash what I was thinking. But if there is going to be a U.S. tour in 2025, we know it's going to be something much more scaled back, 10 or 12 dates, probably in the summer. Probably from June, July, or maybe, it won't be in the winter time. It won't be in the teeth of the winter. He's going to want to be home there in Sussex at his nice farm. It'll be in the spring or summer. I think that's the best bet for that. And we'll have to go deal with amateur night again with 60,000 people trying to get out of a stadium at 2 a.m. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be awesome? That's what I'm saying. He's not going to, you know what though, age doesn't, the man's healthy, he's not going to stop. Yeah, would love to see him do a Dylan type show, but he's not going to do that now. He's got his thing. He's got his format. He knows how to work, and he wants to cater to the masses because there's plenty of people that still haven't seen him yet, despite the onslaught of touring since 2002. It's funny, last night I had popped into the CD player, and it skipped a little bit. I was pissed about that. Back in the US/World CD, because that was the first time I saw him. And his voice sounded so fresh and still young then, 20 years ago, hitting the high notes on things like Here, There, and Everywhere, and Maybe I'm Amazed. There's an argument that could be made that tour might have been the last really true McAvoy sounding classic vocal rocker screaming and stuff, I think obviously it started to go down after that, but that was awesome. No. Hey, I saw that Dylan played for the first time in 9 years, Rainy Day Women, 19 and 35, at a show recently. And somehow people were getting videos of him at concerts. How, I don't know, because when I've seen him, man, the phones... First of all, the first time I saw him, you could have the phone, but the venue at the Beacon Theater was like Nazis to have it out. Then when I saw him just this past year, last fall, in Newark, they gave you the little pouch things. They gave you these pouch things to put it in. They locked it. You could have it on you, and then you couldn't, and then you get it unlocked at the end of the show. So somehow they're doing that. Paul will never do that. Yeah. better in 02 and 03 than in 89, 90. Interesting. I thought his voice sounded fine on those touring, Tripping Live and Paula's Live. Paula's Live maybe not as well. I don't. That one just doesn't sit well with me. It just the way that live album is mixed and something about it just never sat well with me. And because I wore the hell out of Tripping, that was the one to play for me. That was like my Wings Over America as a kid. Tripping Live, fantastic. Wore that thing out. James says he was a little disappointed with the mixing on that album. They made his voice too smooth and shiny. Yeah. You mean back in the U.S.? Yeah, okay. I feel the same way kind of about the Paula's Live album. I saw some Dylan video on his recent tour, and he seems like... Yeah, he just stands at the keyboard, plays his 15, 16 songs for about an hour and a half, and he ducks out. Gothenburg in 2004. Well, that was still kind of on the heels of the Back in the World, Back in the U.S. tour. That really went from 02, 03 into 04, and then 05 with Chaos became the Us tour, and that really changed things up. The set changed up a little bit then, too. Hello, Elliot. Good morning. Good morning. David says, I wonder if there's any video of Paul playing on the Stones. I don't know. Ellie, I missed this comment. Sorry, Ralph. Old News Paul Live needs a song update in the worst way. Well, we'll see. You say that now, and people like James and Tom who've seen Paul 50, 60 times, and like the fans of the Run people that have seen him 200 times, they've seen him more than probably all of us combined, and they still get excited by the set when they see him. So there's a magic to that, right? Like the set list. Yeah, you wish you go home and you play the deep cuts and you're like, damn, but when you're in the moment and you're in the arena, you don't give a flying crap that you're going to hear, whatever. Again, Blackbird or Here Today or some of these stalwart songs that haven't gone out of the rotation. You don't care. You don't. Am I right, James and Tom? I think I got that right. That's how I feel anyway. I mean, I've only seen him about 11 times. So, yeah, 11 times. So, I know I don't get tired of it. Bingo. And then when you get something like a temporary secretary, which I saw in 2016, your famous night, guys, I was incredible. So if I think he does enough to please the average fan, the average person, tongue in cheek, or a diehard who's going to get a set list switch up of a couple of songs, some new songs or something to satisfy you. I do think he does that. Even with the same set list, it's still live. Yeah, exactly. The man knows how to orchestrate a show from start to finish. Has the coat on for 4 or 5 songs, then the coat comes off, sleeves go up, let me roll it, blah, 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 go. James Boyce says, I saw Paul in London in 1990. And well, listen, everybody's entitled to an off night. I mean, I saw him do that, a couple of times. No problem with it, especially in 2002. Nailed it out of the park. You're going to have off nights. You just will. I did. I mentioned that at the top when I went live. So, the show doesn't necessarily have, I think he means to say, have to have deep cuts, but he doesn't play the hits he could. Well, that's something Tom and I have always said, where's the Take It Away? Where's the No More Lonely Nights? And, that time period would have been in the 80s. And he wasn't touring in the 80s, which is something I kind of touched upon in the Broad Street presentation in Chicago. He wasn't going to do that. Yeah. It's going to be some off nights. No Values, of course. One of my earliest memories of seeing Paul live on MTV was the Nebworth concert in 1990. That was a big deal. I just remember seeing Nebworth in a sea of people and him singing Hey Jude. That was awesome. I was about 9 then, 8 or 9. You're going to see it on Sunday, the 29th of September at the AMC in Freehold. Good old Freehold. Not too far from my old stomping grounds. big town. Used to be a great record store there, too, called Abbey Road, believe it or not. But that got shut down many, many years ago because the gentleman was selling bootlegs and he got shut down. It's a good store, though. I got my copy of Off the Ground, The Complete Works there. I think I paid about $100 for it, too, at a time when $100 was a lot of money for a kid. David says there are 3 color versions of the highlights stripping the live from the Czech Republic. See, is that legit then, though? That's like quasi-fake. That, to me, screams of not legit. So I wouldn't, it's like one of those Instagram or Facebook ads you see. Get the best of the Beatles for $19.99, and it's some crap third-party produced thing. Ted says, as long as Paul doesn't lip sync or any track or to fix the voice, I'm happy. You mean live, Ted? Hi, Joe. Are you all recovered from Chicago? I didn't realize you got a Butcher cover either. The Butcher that you gave, was that just a cover that somebody gave you? Or somebody actually gave you a legit Butcher album in Chicago? Damn. You must be pretty popular. No more than what you would think, Tom. I know that it's going to be probably a little short intro. Probably, a minute or so. And then it'll go into the film. It is kind of peculiar now that the only 2 surviving people from that lineup of Wings is Jeff Britton and Paul, with Linda and Jimmy passing, and Denny as well. So it'd be nice if they could reconnect, and I wonder if they have since that. We have one. I'm pretty sure it's a live show from L.A. Okay. Let's see, going again on the 28th in Farmingdale with Joe Mayo and your cousins. Enjoy. Yeah, I'm going to see it Thursday, the opening night. I know Tom is going to go see it as well, too, on Thursday. So it's about a month away now, so another wait. The one-hand clapping remix is so great. Wings of America would be awesome, but very unlikely. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, here we go, Joe. Mr. Beatles Pro gave me an authentic album cover. That's a nice gift. Did you have one previously? And you must have gotten that after the collector's panel, because you would have shown that, right? Because we did the collector's panel together, and then I thought you would have shown that. Which is going to be going up, by the way. I can tell you guys some news about those panels as well, too. Didn't want to inundate the channel with a bunch of panel recordings from the fest, so Kit at O'Toole and I, the queen of all Beatles media, since we were on a lot together, we're going to break some of them up. So I posted, obviously, the Broad Street presentation on our channel. Kit, obviously, the Talk More Talk gang have Rack Our Brains, which is dropping tomorrow night, 9 p.m. with Ken Womack, and with because obviously Ken Michaels didn't make it. You did have it before the panel. Maybe in your neck of the woods, not here. And then what we're going to do is with the academic panel, and the academic panel. So Kit is going to post the academic panel and the generational panel on Talk More Talk sometime during the week, and then I'll post the collector's panel on Two Legs as well. So we'll wait on that. Mentioned this. Somebody asked this at the start when I went live. Wish it would have been bundled in with the cube that's now sitting on my shelf nicely, but it's not. I'm gonna pass on that. I'm gonna pass on the meditation mixes. I think it's cool if it gives you inner peace and harmony. Go for it. But I'm gonna pass on that. And if I had to guess, I think Joe will too. I don't think Joe will get that unless he's gifted it by the estate. But I'm not sure. He does, and I had a nice chance in Chicago to talk at length with Tom Frangione of the Beatles Sirius XM channel, and he told me kind of how it was, kind of connecting with Jeff Britton, how he did, and the interview, and was very said he didn't miss a beat, and he's now the proud owner of a two-leg shirt, Mr. Frangione. So thank you, and agreed to be on a future episode of Two Legs as well. So. Exciting connections made in Chicago, and he was very excited to be on. He saw me at the after party. He says, "Where you been all weekend?" I said, "Where have I been all weekend?" And he didn't know we were doing the thing on Broad Street. He goes, "I would have been at that." I said, "Well, it was in the book." So, but it's on the channel now if he wants to watch it. So, hi, Tony. David Jackson says the John Blaney book states colored vinyls are genuine releases. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, yeah, that was cool. That was a cool connection as well to make. Elliot says he's milking and honeying mind games to death. James and Tom, I'm curious on your thoughts since you guys are so much McCartney diehards. What are your thoughts on mind games? Have you listened to it? Are you not really into it? I know I'm not really sure where you guys stand on Solo Lennon, because obviously we've all talked about it and we recorded our show about it when we got back from Chicago, which will drop next week. That'll drop on the 24th. So we did get our Mind Games show recorded, and we're going to talk. That'll drop on Two Legs next. I did not yet. I know that Joe Mayo did. I'll look for that this week, hopefully in a Barnes & Noble. But I did not get it yet. Hey, there he is. Just talking about one hand clapping and when we're going to see it. You made it. How you doing, brother? Thank you. Good egg. I think the mix is great. Not my favorite Lennon, but always incredible to hear the outtakes and chatter in the studio. Okay. Yeah, so you guys weren't going to go in for like an Uber set of it. Okay, that's what I was wondering. Yeah. That's what you love. Is the studio banter, him going back and forth with Keltner and just ripping him, things like that are just awesome. And so I'm still working my way through the Blu-ray. Tom, my partner, told me how to access the extra stuff yesterday. After a month of traveling between Italy and Chicago yesterday, before I had some friends over, so let me throw the Blu-ray in and try to navigate my way and get to this stuff. I texted Tom, how do you access the stuff? And he's like, okay, you got to go up, down, left, right. I said, what is this, like the Nintendo game for, Contra, up, down, left, right, BA, start for 30 lives. That's what I thought I was doing. Nick says hello, Nick. Good afternoon. I'm a huge Beatles fan, but never really listened to Mind Games, but this new mix has been fantastic, and I've been playing it continually. Love it. Good. Very good. Very good. Elliot says, can we let the dust settle on Mind Games still? I mean, it's going to take us years to process all that stuff. Yeah, the other stuff, yeah, well, you'll see it all when it drops. Cuba, I know the Mind Games is crystal clear and all that, but I still prefer the original mix remaster. Oh, the 2010, which was just basically a reissue of what was done originally. We shall see. But should be a good fourth quarter of Beatles stuff. I don't know what this 1964. Well, I do, but when I'm waiting for them to announce it, when it's going to be, and what your thoughts are going to be about it, because it's an interesting avenue for them to explore. Life is good, Andy. Random for some. Really? What songs? On vinyl or CD? James says he still feels that Flowers and Flaming Pie are the best boxes yet. Yeah, that, and I would toss in there the Wildlife Big Barn box. I would add those as well too. Yeah. Cuba loves Driving Rain. David Jackson says the Mind Games release has completely changed my view on record. Yeah. I did watch Matthew Street's video on. He did a little quick 18-minute thing. I do feel that the Yoko influence on this record has been a little bit inflated with this release. I'm not saying that she wasn't involved in everything that was going on. Like, she was obviously in the studio. I just feel bundling it all with some of her 1968 art stuff and combining that with Mind Games is just trying to paint a little bit of a narrative. And I think it's just an album. And I don't think there was enough really because the album was recorded so quickly. So they're going to put a whole bunch of other stuff in there and make it more of a John and Yoko project. And I never kind of thought of it as that growing up. I'm like, this is just a John Lennon album, just like Walls and Bridges is. I don't think that all this extra stuff, the books they were reading, I mean, things like that, feminism, and I think all those stories have their place in a Sometime in New York City, excuse me, box set, not in a Mind Games one. So I just feel there's a little of that going. Again, no remorse. I'm happy I have it, and I love everything. I love everything about it, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But I just do feel there's a little bit too much of that with this set. It was for me. It's always been about the music. It's always been about the music in there, which is like a Ken Michaels. It's why exactly I go right to the outtakes and the music. The other stuff is great, but that's again, I wanted it on vinyl, which is why I got the Cube. Oh, good point here. Oh, when people comment, I highlight a comment I don't mean to, and then I got to go back up and read it. I'll get to this one. Stand by. Hold on. Flaming Pie is my favorite box set. Was my first. Yeah. Exactly. Limited box for sure. Oh, right. The Flaming Pie one, of course. Yep. Okay. Thank you, Ted. Elliot, yes. So, okay, on October the 9th, John and Sean's birthday, Daytime Revolution will be in theaters. Another kind of film project. This is the Mike Douglas week, right? So I guess in there sometime in 72, in the spring of 72 or summer of 72, John and Yoko did a whole week on the Mike Douglas show. And that's been out as a box set for a long, long time. But I guess there'll be a film about it now. So you've got this one-to-one project film as well. So there's a lot of that going on too. You do. I was curious what your thoughts on that would be, Joe. Right? I wondered if you would agree with that. Thank you. Kyle says cassette. I love you've been listening to it on cassette back to back. Driving Rain on cassette. Now that's just fun. That's a rare find. Okay. Yeah, and if anything we take away from that album, it was Paul wanting to get back on the road. Okay, with all the hair dye too. Ugh. Ugh. The Infinite Universe of okay. Oh, that's the one by Madeline Beccaro, right? Yes, I've skimmed that one. I do, but I can't say that much about it. But you look at social media on the Beatles pages, that'll give you a little bit of a hint what's coming. Tony, I feel too invested in whole mind games, things to let the meditation mixes pass me by. It's a bit like going to hell for leather in a 100M sprint and then hopping off for the last. Yeah, you're like, I'm all in, so I've got to just keep going down that train. A little bit of me feels that way. But I don't know. We'll see. When's it out? When is it out again? If it's halfway priced, I'll get it. We did just briefly. Tony says I didn't think Joe was going to get it. I don't either because it would be a one and done play. That's something I'd rather stream. Tony says he's going to get the meditation mixes. Ted is the one-to-one concert part of the Daytime Revolution, separate as I understood it. Let me go back and make sure I didn't miss anybody here. I did not. Okay. Yes, they do. Elliot says I previously thought Yoko was not. Well, definitely not Walls and Bridges, and definitely Rock and Roll because those albums were. Well, Rock and Roll, as you know, if you know your Lennon history, Mind Games finishes and he goes right into Rock and Roll. It wasn't Walls and Bridges. He went out to L.A. and started Rock and Roll, and that became a shit show. So he scrapped that, paused that, jumped into Walls, came back to New York, recorded Walls and Bridges, still separated, went back, and then kind of cleaned up Rock and Roll a little bit later on. Not yet, Tom, but I will. Joe, I know Joe got it. Joe, if you've looked at it, is it all just about Mind Games, or is it like your run-of-the-mill essays on Lennon as an artist? If it's just all about Mind Games and the essays are good and scholarly, then I'll get it. But if it's just your generic, John Lennon Beatle with a Mind Games cover thrown on it, I'm not going to get it. But it looks promising. David, the Harrison estate should release the original. Yeah. I actually got a copy of that at a fest not a couple of years ago. The rejected one. The rejected cover, too. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, and the CD. Well, I got the tracks. A friend of mine had sent me the tracks on the CD a while ago. So I had heard those. I think it was a 9-track sampler. A friend of mine had got it. Yeah. Haven't read it. Yeah, but I still got to get to the Blu-ray stuff. And Blu-ray is something that the Macca camp has not really delved into much with the box sets at all. Only with only we got that with the Bruce McMouse in the Big Barn Butt. We got that. We got a Blu-ray of that, but the Blu-rays from Paul's camp have not been too forthcoming. We'll have to see. Moving on. What we're going to get with content. It's something that the Beatles obviously have done it with their releases, and Lennon has too, but it's something Paul has not for the most part. Mo Austin, what were the 4 songs he turned down again? All right. Next March, back at the Hyatt Regency in Jersey City, right on the Hudson overlooking Manhattan. Yeah. Next end of March. The dates for 2025 are set in stone as well. I feel safe in sharing this. If you don't already know it, there will be in December of 2025. There will be a symposium in conjunction with Monmouth University and Ken Womack on Rubber Soul, similar to what they did in 2018 on the White Album. So it's still in the planning stages, but Ken shared that with us in Chicago. And the plans are in the works now for that. That'll be in December of 2025, which will be celebrating the 60th anniversary of Rubber Soul. So that will be very exciting, and I'm sure a few of us will all get together and do that. And that would be nice because it's close by. So the symposium on Rubber Soul, look for that in the coming months. Probably in the new year, you'll see some press about that. But it's in the works, and it's through Ken, and it's going to be awesome. No, but I did see that's now streaming as well, too. Yeah. I don't think so. Yep. Tears of the World, Flying Hour, and Sad Singing were turned down. I don't know. I like the official version, too. I do. Okay. Yeah. Let's see what else. What else here? Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. Plenty of music to sink your teeth into still. I mean, so much. When you think about it, still, you've got the red and blue stuff still. I mean, and all the remixes on that. Now and Then, I was listening to it again. It's just like, and the former leg there, David Gargolino, he went down a real big rabbit hole with Now and Then and the study of it and all the different versions that were worked on. And it's a song that can still boggle the mind when you think that it was done. It's incredible. And listening to the original Lennon demo again, it's amazing. It's a song that's to me, it's like Free as a Bird and Real Love. It's a Beatles song. Yeah. And I did not get a chance to attend the panel that Peter Jackson and Michael Lindsay Hogg did because they were on the main stage on Zoom while we were doing Broad Street. So we kind of we weren't blessed with the scheduling with that, which is fine. But they had dropped some hints too about some more stuff that they were working on, or I should say Peter, but I am not, but I know that Tom and James are. September's busy, very busy. We got one hand clapping now. I am going to see ELO as well. So September is heating up. I've got another concert as well to see John Anderson and the Band Geeks. So September's filling up, but I am not gonna go to see Ringo that date. Maybe if something happens, the day of, spur of the moment, you want to go, maybe I'll go. But right now, no. Maureen. Hi, Maureen. I think I'm more of a Walls and Bridges better than Mind Games. It's still a great album. Sure. No disagreement there. They're both great albums. Yeah. We shall, but we'll see. We'll see. Will it be the Star Club tapes, That's the long rumor, too, that Peter Jackson owns the Star Club tapes, and maybe that's what he'll be doing. We'll have to see. But things will be coming out. Tom. Yeah. It would be nice to see Bangladesh get a screening. I know that for the 20-year anniversary of the Concert for George, that got a re-release. And I saw that in a movie theater in, I think, Cranford I went to in the November of 2022. Went with a friend of mine. And actually saw Mark and Carol Lapidus there, too. They didn't know me then, but I saw them. So it would be nice to get that. Yeah. Now is it the Harrisons' turn now? Okay, we've got the Mind Games drop. Paul did his big set, obviously one hand clapping, singles, 7-inch singles set. Now it's like the ball's back in the Harrison camp. Your turn. Your turn. Yeah. I know that we always want more and more and more as fans, and we always feel like we're not satisfied, but we have to be thankful for what we have. A lot of care and work go into these sets, especially like something like the Crate, which is 3 years old now, but you have to appreciate the work that the estate goes into it. If they're going to keep releasing something every 6 months or a year, you're going to bleed it dry. So they want to kind of pace it out. I get it. And obviously the Beatles brand comes first, right? So they're going to probably all, strategic, get all their releases. What are you thinking about doing? And then, okay, well, the Beatles are going to do X, Y, Z. Now you four camps have to wait. He was right. He was. He goes, if you want to hear us so bad, you've got a whole album by me, you got a whole album by Paul, George, and Ringo, and you still get it. Famous quote of his, take one of my songs, take some of Paul's, take one or two of George's and one of Ringo's, slap it on a tape, and there's your Beatle album if you want one. That's a great quote. I think the set list will probably be very, very similar. That's Jeff. Jeff is not going to. He's not going to tweak it too much. Yeah, I don't think it'll be too much. James or Tom, you guys seen ELO, Jeff Lynne, when he hits the area, or no? I know you're going to Ringo, but I was curious if you guys are going to see ELO as well. Also, today was the last day of Paul's exhibition of photos at the Brooklyn Museum, and now it's opening up in L.A. If you saw on the news, there's gonna be an L.A. opening now of that. Yes, it was. I saw him in the Rock in Newark. Yeah, well, that's fine because ELO / Jeff Lynne does not have the touring pace that a Paul McCartney has. So if he's only gonna tour once every handful of years. And let's be honest, okay? Until 2014 or 15, whenever that documentary came out, there was no touring. I mean, there was a tour booked in 2000. I had tickets for it with the Zoom tour, and it got canceled because not enough tickets were sold. So obviously, ELO proper was defunct for a long time. So if ELO is going to tour now, it's going to be the hits. It's going to be an hour and a half, 2-hour show. He'll throw Handle with Care in there, and he'll knock it out of the park. It's a very he doesn't deviate too much from the songs. There's not extended solos or jamming. He plays the songs as they are on the record, and that's fine. Which was always a big thing of John Lennon he didn't like going to see acts live because he said, "Oh, the record. It's always about the record. The record sounds better." Not live act. In the case of going to see ELO / Jeff Lynne, you can close your eyes and you're listening to the record. And I think Tom, you would agree. It's just close your eyes. You're hearing the record again. Yeah, Danny was with him. That was cool. Where did you see him, Tom, in 2019? What venue? was curious if we were at the same one. Ow. When I saw ELO in Hyde Park in 24, that was it. Exactly. Bonus. You were on Newark. Okay, so we were at the same show. I was in the 5th row for that. I went with my uncle. Yeah, I was with my uncle, who's a huge ELO fan, and he graciously got me the tickets for it. And we were right in the 5th row. It was awesome. Same show. Yeah, that was great. First time I saw ELO was actually with Jeff Lynne was 2016 at Radio City, and that was pretty special because I think that was the last. Well, I think Richard Tandy played with him then. Richard Tandy, as you know, just recently passed away. Jeff's longtime, ELO bandmate, and Richard was at that show. Elliot says, might see ELO. You saw ELO's Out of the Blue tour at the Garden with the big spaceship, and a few years ago at the Prudential. You got to see the big, great. Out of the Blue was just a great record. I actually, a couple of years ago, I got one of my students down a rabbit hole with that. And he became a fan of that album. The name of the documentary is called Mr. Blue Sky. Mr. Blue Sky. Just search it up. I think it's on. I think I bought it from Apple TV. And that's from 2012, and that's where you see Paul talk about Now and Then for the first time, because obviously it's about Jeff's life, and it's got Petty in it and Paul's in it, and he's sitting on a chair, and that's what he says. And Jeff is going up talking about Free as a Bird and Real Love, and he's sitting there, and he's just like a fan. He's just smiling, and he's like, they asked me to produce it. He's like, me? You want me to work on these records? Sure, I'll do it. He was just like giddy as a schoolboy, and that part of the documentary is so awesome. And then Paul talks about this third song, Now and Then, and he goes, I'm going to go in one day with Jeff and Ringo and finish it. And sure enough, we got Now and Then, although Jeff wasn't part of the finished version of Now and Then, but he helped get it going. Oh, man. Oh. Well, sadly, yeah, with Roy passing so shortly after that first album, it just wasn't going to happen. And I like the third album. There's some good tracks on it, but that first one, from start to finish, is like a classic. Tweeter and the Monkey Man by Bob Dylan. In Jersey, anything's legal as long as you don't get caught. Boom. Drop the mic. Oh, that first album is so good. Yeah, and then I think Danny did handle With Care with him at the ELO show, if I recall correctly. Nick's got tickets for ELO in St. Louis on the 6th of September. Very nice. James has been lucky. You've had 5th, 12th, and 6th row at ELO shows. You met Richard T. Yes. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to meet him, but he played on that show. John. Hi, John. Hello, Andy. With the Peter Jackson technology, would you support the rest of John's unfinished demos being completed as songs? She's a Friend of Dorothy's in Tennessee. Would they be John songs, or are we trying to make them Beatles songs? If we're going to try to make them John songs, I don't know how I feel about that. At a certain point, these are just demos, right? I mean, even Now and Then wasn't finished, but Paul and Ringo and George and the team were able to add to it to finish it. If they were to come out in a set of, like, say, the John Lennon, there's that great bootleg out there called Between the Lines, which has kind of a collection of all these songs that John did while he was in his house husband years. Say that was to come out officially by the camp, and they cleaned it up, saying, like, look, these are John's home demos from 1975 to 1979, and they were cleaned up, put out as, like, home then I would support it. But just not as a Beatle thing. But, yeah, I mean, if the camp wanted to put those out, Tennessee is a great song. That's how I heard Sally and Billy when I was a kid. When I heard Sally and Billy, I said, this is great. I said, this is an early take of Only People. And I said that on the show. I said, he turned this song into Only People on Mind Games. I knew it right away when I heard it. Something Ken Michaels couldn't see that same correlation, but the bridge is exactly the same. Exactly the same. Matthew, yeah, well, wouldn't that be pretty damn special? John saying John's songs is one final LP. I I would think that would be cool. Oh, that'll be great. Yeah, I thought they did Handle with Care together. 2019 was quite a long time ago when you think about it. Tony saw the ELO 78 with the spaceships. Worst sound I've ever heard at a gig. I expect they sound better now. Really? Because Wembley back in the day was a good gig for a lot. I mean, Yes played there and Genesis, and I'm surprised that the sound wasn't good there. I've got some great boots of Yes and Genesis concerts from '78 at Wembley, but they were FM broadcasts. They were properly recorded. Yeah. Yes, we do. I'm glad he's home. I said, so admired Jeff for producing Come. Yeah, for George. Yeah. Yeah. Full Moon Fever. I mean, yeah. Jeff was helping everybody out there. Yeah. What was that big hit of Roy that came out? I remember it was a Mystery Girl. You Got It. Great song. Great song. And Jeff Lynne's influence is over all that. He had an album also come out at the same time in this documentary called Long Wave, which was basically Jeff Lynne doing, the Rod Stewart songbook, Kisses on the Bottom, doing songs from like the 30s and 40s. Really good. And Jeff Lynne does an awesome version of Running Scared on Long Wave, which is just fantastic. I think it's in the documentary too. It's in the documentary as well. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to stay tuned and wait and see. But I have to admire Jeff for what he did in '94. 30 years ago, to try to take a tape and clean it up with early Pro Tools technology. I know 30 years hindsight and technology is everything in AI and we can clean it all up. But man, that was pretty special to have in those days, to have something that done that well. It was the best. It was the state of the art for the time, and thank God that George had that relationship with Jeff, and that Paul and Ringo were okay with it, because I think Paul kind of maybe felt a little some type of way because George and Jeff were buddies. Now Jeff is coming in. George Martin had nothing really to do with it. Jeff did the work on those songs, and Paul was okay with it, and that was a relationship that was able to build and grow, which was great, because then of course Jeff then goes to work on Flaming Pie. On a couple of tracks. So, these fractions of camps and stuff, but it all comes together. It's all there for the music. And you can tell when you watch that documentary, Jeff is so proud of the work he was asked to do. I mean, he's got the gold albums displayed in his house, in his whole home studio, in one-man band, really. Jeff's recent ELO albums need a band because he's kind of doing it. He's doing it all kind of DIY, right? Steve Hackett does the same thing. The former Genesis guitarist, he releases new albums like every other 6 months or a year. Although he has a band play with him most of the time, but it's just so these guys these guys are world-class musicians and they can do it from their home. So why not put an album out? The first one, Alone in the Universe. Alone in the Universe I like that one better than the second one. And of course, Jeff Lynne loved Del Shannon. Loved him, worshipped him. Here's a great line in that documentary. Eric Idle from Monty Python fame says, well, I thought, he should have just kept the name as the Idle Race before he changed names. Of course he thought the Idle Race was a better name. Yeah. And you see early in that documentary where Jeff gets the idea for orchestration and music because he went to films in the cinema as a kid in the 50s, and he kind of saw these kind of strings and stuff coming together and had the idea of rock and orchestra together. Done so well. Hello, Scott O'Rourke. John, have you heard the ELO Beatles? Yes, I have. It's okay. You're talking about Beatles Forever, right? So. It's okay. It's okay. I believe it was supposed to be on 1983's Secret Messages, which is an album over the last couple of years I've gotten much more familiar with and love it just as much as any core 70s ELO album. Secret Messages is an awesome, awesome album. And it recently came out on vinyl again in this kind of 2 LP original configuration, which I really think is probably really I used to say that the Time album by ELO was the last best album. Secret Messages for me is the best. That is one of the best last ones for sure. Maureen says she's talking about 94. Windows 3.1, no internet. AOL was only starting. Yeah, and if you picked up the phone, you got knocked off the internet. I remember being on AOL, going on like America Online. You've got mail, going on to see what Beatle news is out there, and then goodbye, and I lost my connection. And my mother picked up the phone. Ma, you knocked me offline. Anybody out there remember those days? Oh man, and you had to pay per minute to be online too. It was like something like $3.95 a minute. Oh God, those were the days, right, Mary? Thank God we've upgraded a little bit since then. Oh, I'm telling you. Tony, do you think Jeff Lynne's music production style is easy to... Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Time, yes. Great album. Great album. Rain is Falling, awesome. 21st Century Man, which I've always kind of thought was a little subtle tribute to Lennon anyway, without being one. I always thought that was a little bit of a subtle wink to John Lennon. I'm curious what Nick and Cuba think about it, since they both love that record too. Secret Mess. Yeah, good records. Have I? Yes, I have. I have heard the ELO tracks with George and Ringo on Zoom, and it's a shame. It's a shame that tour didn't. Because I had tickets to go at the Brendan Byrne Arena, if you're old enough to remember that, which is where where the Nets used to play and the Devils used to play, and the tickets, the tour got canceled back in 2001. Dial-up memories. Oh, the worst. The worst. That's all we had though. Rec. What was the news group? Rec.news.beatles. It's where you went for all your information. That in the chat rooms. I can remember my AOL username was getback70. That was if you went on AOL Instant Messenger, if you wanted to contact me, I was getback70 at AOL.com. Oh man, those were the days. The best. You had tickets for that too. Yeah. So I think this is it. Obviously, this is going to be it for Jeff Lynne, and that's why. Yeah. Yeah. And Paul's just so honest, right? In that documentary, he's like, well, it might be cheeky to pick a favorite song, but he's like, if you drive it in the car and it's a nice day, Mr. Blue Sky kind of works. I mean, it really works. And then it cuts to the video and driving and you hear the song playing. I mean, it does. It does. And the little voice you hear at the end of the song is a vocoder saying, not Mr. Blue Sky. Somebody out there in TV land tell me, because so many people get that wrong when they're like, they're just saying Mr. Blue Sky. I said, no, damn it, that's not the line. You know what the line is. Somebody put it in the comments, because it involves playing a record, and I have to tell these youngins sometimes, no, that's not the line. Listen to it again, and then it'll understand. I'll wait for James or Nick to put it in there, because they sound like they're ELO diehards. They'll know it. My internet was net. Bingo! Please turn me over, because it was the end of side 3. Flip the record over. Boom, done. Yes. Now, next time you listen to Mr. Blue Sky, listen to the full version, and then you'll hear that, and because it was the end of side 3. Flip to side 4. 4, that was the end of side 3. The Concerto for a Rainy Day, which was, that whole suite is just awesome. James Boyce, UK DJ Chris Evans was the guy who got Jeff. Oh, really? I remember reading that. His radio show had so many requests for him to go back on tour because, yeah, it's such a great catalog. Yeah, and obviously Lennon realized that too. Well, he goes, oh, they're just, there's that great interview of John, right, with on WNEW. Okay, now we're going to play Electric Light Orchestra Showdown with Dennis Elsis. And he's like, oh, they're just, they're what the Beatles picked up with Walrus and ran off with it. And I know that probably made still probably makes Jeff's day, that John made that comment about ELO. Ooh, a new Dylan album produced by Jeff Lynne. Worlds colliding. Somehow, I don't think that would work. First of all, Bob produces everything himself these days. Okay, the last couple of Bob Dylan records, if you see produced by Jack Frost, that's Bob Dylan. So it would be nice. I'd rather have Paul's new album produced by Jeff Lynne. I can't see, Bob and Jeff are just so different, even though they were in the Wilburys together. But a Dylan specific record, I don't know. Maybe back in the Wilbury days, coming off of the Full Moon Fever and Mystery Girl and all that stuff in Cloud 9, that would have been the time for Jeff to produce a Dylan album. Not now. You do think so. Okay. I am glad we're simpatico on that, Nick. I've always felt that about that song. Yeah. Russ, the first time my ears heard 1978, I thought Mr. Well, easy to see why. Easy to see why. Yeah, that I don't know. I mean, I'm still enjoying Rough and Rowdy Ways from Bob Dylan, which is 4 years old already by now, which is crazy. Still a great record, and he was still playing music from that album as recently as a few months ago. Let's see. Elliot says Jeff brought out the best in Dylan with the Wilburys. Yeah, and you listen to Tweeter and the Monkey Man. I mean, that song is awesome. If Jeff could do like a whole album of stuff like that with Bob, that would be awesome. Maureen says, that's while I'm in the 70s. I love the record arm could play. Oh, you're talking about the old school kind of turntable where you'd stack the... I know what you're talking about now. Now, I didn't have a record player like this growing up, and I never used to understand why. Tom Liverani, you're a first-generation fan. You're probably going to understand this. Now I get it. When you had a triple album, right? Say, concert... What's one that can come to my mind? The Concert of Bangladesh. Side 1, Side 6. Side 2, Side 3, and it wasn't Side 1, Side 2, Side 3, Side 4, Side 5, Side 6, and I'm like, why is the album made this way? It's made this way because what Maureen's saying, you would stack the record, it'd play it, it would automatically flip it, and then it would play in order. I never had a turntable like that, but my dad told me that's why some records were made like that, but it used to drive me crackers. I'm like, wait a minute, I've just listened to Side 1. Now, if I want to listen to Side 2, I can't flip it over. I've got to go back into the record, get Side 2 and play it, flip that, go back to the first record to play Side 4. Madness. I do. I'm not a big fan of Beatles covers in general, but that one's pretty good. I was just thinking about that Beatles Forever cover. I think I've talked about this before. If you want to see something about a Beatles tribute, there is a version of a Beatles medley at an ELO concert shortly after John Lennon died, and Jeff Lynne is singing A Day in the Life, and he can barely get through it. Search it up on YouTube. It's pretty moving. It's pretty moving to listen to. He can't even, you can hear his voice cracking. He's so crushed. I'm curious if any ELO diehards out there have heard that. That's pretty. That's so that on the Beatles Forever thing, but. Nick, let me go back to this here. I know this is sacrilege, but I kind of do too. Everything from Time Out of Mind on. Home run after home run. Although there are some fans of those 80 people, Oh Mercy, which was produced by Daniel Lanois, same as Time Out of Mind, which I know Oh Mercy has its fans, but I think anything from Bob from 97 on has just been a home run. Really. I think you never stacked LPs okay, so you didn't have a record player like that. But if you look at your copy of the Concert of Bangladesh, and I know there's probably other ones, Wings Over America was a triple, but it wasn't pressed that way. Concert of Bangladesh has that Side 1, Side 6 thing with the records. It's crazy. Check it out. But because so few people had record players that way anyway. Have you heard Elton's song Blues Never Fade Away as a kind of second Elton tribute to John Lennon? I have not. Is it on the Jump Up album? It's funny you mentioned that Elton's tributes to John, because I was just listening to Empty Garden, or watching Empty Garden the other night, the video for that. Okay. See, so it was kind of pointless for them to do that. No, and I don't know that song. I don't know that one. Bruce, yeah, I am not the biggest Bruce fan. I'm from New Jersey, so that they might shoot me on sight for that. Because I have some friends who are diehard Bruce Springsteen fans. I have a friend of mine, actually, who is such a hardcore Bruce fan. He actually bought the house in Long Branch that Bruce wrote Greetings from Asbury Park in. And he still owns it. He's like me with Paul. I like Bruce. I've seen Bruce probably about 12 times. And half those times were, hey, I got tickets to go see Bruce. You want to go? Okay. Listen, I like classic Bruce. All right. I like everything up to about Tunnel of Love. I think recent Bruce, the most recent Bruce album that I really think is fantastic is Magic from 2007. That album was great. There was shades of the old Bruce there. But recent Bruce, not so much. But that album, the Seeger Sessions, that was really good, which was recorded in Ireland, I think. That was good stuff. Radio Nowhere, things like that. I like my casual share of Bruce songs. Give me like my 25, 30 Bruce songs. I'll spend a night listening to Bruce one night, for sure, no problem. But I won't spend weeks down doing it. I just won't. But and here I am from Jersey. Lightning strike me down. Jesus Christ. It'd be like a Bruce fan living in Liverpool. Yeah. The Rising had some good songs on it. Yeah. Magic was good too. Yeah. I ever wonder why John's appearance in Elton was not filmed. I don't know. Because they didn't, because it was, they knew that he was coming out there, but I guess it was kind of hush hush. If more people had known that John was going to appear there, then maybe a film crew would have captured it. There is some really, really crappy 8mm film, silent film of John coming on stage there. With Elton. I've seen that make its way out, on YouTube. It's like 30 seconds. You see John coming on the stage. There's no sound, but it's a little 8mm, home film shot thing. That's all I've seen from that. But wouldn't that have been nice? And thank God it was recorded with audio. And we actually got 3 songs. And that, first time I ever heard those songs, John's appearance with Elton in Thanksgiving '74, was on that 1990 great 4-CD Lennon box set. There were 3 tracks at the end of disc 3, which was gold. This was, early 90s when I got that. Like to have those, recordings on a CD in a box set then, that was gold, man. To hear those songs there, tremendous. Elton did another Lennon tribute called "The Man Who Never Died," predominantly an instrument. Bueno, okay, I did not know that about that. And I'm a fairly big Elton John fan, not diehard, but I was just listening to songs from the West Coast the other day, which I think is really one of Elton's latter-day masterpieces. I love that record. "The Boy in the Red Shoes," great song. "Original Sin," good stuff. Magic is great, but suffers like Memory Almost Full of having no dynamics and so bloody loud. Well, we're right at the top of the loudness wars then. We just were. Everything was being, you look at those waveforms. Oh, Catherine the Kid, another good one. Oh, it's on that? All right. Yeah. Yeah, it's so many rabbit holes you can go down, A friend of mine was asking me the other day, what do you want to listen to? I said, well, it's funny. I've got all this music. Sometimes I don't know what I want to listen to because you need to take breaks. Am I listening to Elton? Am I listening to Dylan? Am I listening to Genesis? Am I listening to The Who? Sometimes you got to think about it. I still have to. I want to watch that video on the box set of when they both met with the video promote, and that's the first time Elton and Lennon met. Was during that Mind Games promotional film with Tony King as the Queen, which, thank you, Tom Honyadi, my partner in crime, because I'm like, Tom, how do I access the damn videos? I feel like a boomer. I should know this, right? Put the DVD in. Boom. How do I get it? I like that comparison, Elliot. Captain Fantastic is Elton's Sgt. Pepper. Totally agree. Bitter Fingers is one of my favorite tracks on that album. For sure. I thought it was all right. No, but couldn't tell you the last time I put it on, start to finish. Although I will give credit, okay, before I came onto the show, I never, ever really gave much of a thought to a song like called Riding into Jaipur. And of course, Dylan Seavey, who does our theme music, he did that really awesome kick-ass intro of like that reworked version of Jet. Dylan Seavey and I were talking one time, and he told me that he goes, that's one of the highlights of the album. Listen to how magical that record is, that song. And I listened to it, and I said, damn, Dylan, you're right. Riding to Jaipur is a good song. So sometimes it takes other people's perspectives for you to look at something, watch something, listen to it, and go, you know what? I misjudged that one. I have to listen to that one again. Awesome. So that's what I feel about that. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you. Probably going to wrap it up in a couple of minutes here. Not too, maybe another 5 minutes or so. Tower of Babel. Yeah. Talk about a package, right? Gatefold, 2 books, a poster. Yeah. That's a very good. Hi, Serge. How are you? Big fan of the show. Elton's played. I saw her standing there live with John and Paul. Now, the Paul performance we know is the Princess Trust from 1986. And that's a great trivia question to throw on your friends one day. You know, who's the only person who played a Beatles song with John and Paul? That's a great trivia one. Great one. Casually, I like CSN. I like Crosby, Stills, and Nash better. You know, I like the hits, but I'm not listening to all their albums. Matt, any thoughts on who's producing the new? Well, I think from what we know, it's just Andrew Watt. But if history is any indication, Paul kind of hodgepodges and uses people for certain tracks lately, except for McCartney 3, which was obviously all himself. But obviously with New and Egypt Station, he brought in different people. So he might do that again. Casual Cream fan. I'm going to say the single. I like having the double now to listen to it, but I like the single as it is, as it's constructed. I know it should have been a double, but I like it how it's trimmed. It should have been a double, but I'm saying I just prefer it now because I'm just my mind is so programmed to those 9 tracks that I couldn't listen to it any other way. The double's nice to have now, but you know the regular album has been out the same way for so long that I couldn't make that the standard one, if that makes any sense. I'm glad that we have the double as an alternative listening experience, but the main album is now. If it had been a double like it should have been, then I probably would like that too. Ginger, yeah, Ginger, the guy who shakes the gravel, I think on Mamunia, I think on Band on the Run, and he was a bit cheesed off that they didn't use his studio. Ooh, sorry, Ginge. Well, yeah, 2 big people. Well, Elton and George weren't the biggest pals. The big person not being at the concert for George was Bob Dylan, but Bob was on tour. I've always watched that concert for George, and I'm like, here's all these great people that admire George Harrison, and where's Bob Dylan, who is basically like a musical soulmate to the guy, and he wasn't there. But he was on tour, and he did start including something in his set lists at the time as a tribute to him, which was cool. Dylan works, and Dylan is a musician. So I forget the name of his band, but he's always out playing. I can't think of it at the moment. The Minx, that's the name of the band. The Minx, that's his band, and he does a lot of gigging, and man, he did a great job with that new kind of revamped version of Jet that we used to open up when we started the shows for the beginning of the year. We just felt a little bit of a reboot and a refresh was needed with some stuff. And a lot of people like the intro, and I'm happy about that. If you've also noticed, too, we got a couple of people, and we dropped. A couple of friends of ours recorded some voiceovers to like lead into the show. So we got Ken Womack to do one for us. That opened up the Broad Street one. Cozen Sinclair did one for us. Luca Perazzi did one for us. Beatley Tone's going to do one for us. Kid O'Toole's going to do one for us. Ken Michaels did one for us. So we're going to have like these little friends drop video or audio kind of bumper IDs before our shows start moving forward. So some of them might be repeats, but we're very thankful that those people took the time out to do them. So to do that. Yeah, man. Let's do it. Let's go. I think it's amazing Paul's doing all this. Most people's age but are RV and travel. Yeah, well, this is what he wants to do. Do you like the Hollies when Graham Nash? I like the Hollies, yes. The Hollies I like. Again, not just the hits, but I could listen to a good couple of Holly songs. Dear Eloise, Everything is Sunshine, obviously Carrie Ann is a good one. But even after Graham Nash left too, they had some really great hits. The Air That I Breathe, which is a great track, mid-70s. Hi Wes, how you doing? Wes, I still got your CDs here that I have to burn, but I got them. I got them right here, man. Thank you for giving those to me in Chicago, but I got them. Captain Fantastic was the first album to ever debut at number 1. I think you're right. It debuted at number 1. Yeah, I think it was. And Elton from 71 to 76. I mean, he couldn't be touched. You know, he had to come down, obviously. Blue Moves, which is the album after Rock of the Westies, I think is one of his best albums. I think it's fantastic. More of a somber album, but I think it's great. My man, been doing dishes for the last 30 and been waiting to comment. Here we go. My dying wish would be to hear the David Bromberg produced Dylan album in the early 90s. Dylan shelved it at the last second. Yeah. That would be cool. Yeah. Well, it'll come out someday. Speaking of Dylan, we've got the mega box set of the 1974 tour with the band coming out in September. Something like 50 discs. Anybody here watching see the Before the Flood tour in 74 with Dylan and the band? That'll be quite the dive. That'll go right, and I'll get that, and that will sit on the shelf with my other ones. It's almost impossible to listen to all of it. Whenever Mr. Michaels has me back on. Yeah, we'll have him back on again. Like I said, he's quite busy traveling. But yeah, it's in due course. We will. Elliot just saw the movie Electric Ladyland documentary with Eddie Kramer and Jenny. Highly recommended. Was that on Netflix, I guess? Thanks, Elliot. John, when will Paul's return to Pepperland and somewhere did we meet somewhere before? Probably on a press to play box set, or just maybe we get a standalone thing, Return to Pepperland, like we did with One Hand Clapping. I don't think so, but do I have a favorite decades of music? That's a tough question. Based on everything that I like, probably the 1970s would be the easiest answer. Because it covers so many genres of what I like. 60s would just be mainly the 60s groups, but the 70s had just a little bit of everything. The end of the Beatles and everything else that I like. So I would say definitely the 70s, for sure. Elliot says, a very Beatles-sounding group was the Hudson. Oh, yeah, was that the the Hudson that worked with with Ringo and Mark Hudson and Kate Hudson and all that whole relation? I think that's the same. That's the same Hudsons, I believe. I watched a clip the other night too of Kate Hudson from Almost Famous, the Tiny Dancer scene on the bus. The best, great film. Tell me you guys have seen that movie. That movie's fantastic. Fantastic. Good one. Well, I think I'm going to start wrapping it up, folks. Been on for about an hour and 20, which is good for a Sunday. Came on a little bit late, so I'm going to wrap it up. So all of you have a great Sunday. It's nice out where I am. Hopefully it's nice out where you are. Enjoy the tunes. Stay tuned to Two Legs. We will have a show dropping Saturday, which will be our Mind Games episode. And have a fab week and a safe one. All right? Talk to you all soon. Be well. Bye.